Hello and welcome to another Nordic Takedown podcast episode number 31, if I have counted correctly. And I'm so humble, and I'm here today with Victor.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Our first duo here in the podcast world. It's going to be a fun evening for us. We'll see what it'll be for you guys when you listen. This is not live, of course. We are going to talk about some tournaments today, and we are going to round it out afterwards with some card price discussion, or not just specific cards, but all trends and just a discussion around price in Star Wars Unlimited. What have you been up to, Victor?
Well, I've been playing some tournaments, which we will get further into in a bit, and obviously prepping a bit for that, and hanging out with my Star Wars friends as much as possible. Nice. And what have you been up to?
A little bit of the same. Not 2 tournaments as you have, but I've been to one, and I've had my fiancé at visiting, so it's been limited gaming, obviously. So yeah. But a store showdown, I played at least the Skövde one together with Matthias and Jason was also there. So a lot of the Nordic Takedown crew was playing that event. So we're gonna get into that later as well. And I guess we can just start with the tournament that was first, right? The Uppsala Store Showdown. That was like midweek.
Yeah, we had a Thursday evening showdown. So we did best of one, but we did pre-boarded decks. So
nice. How was that?
Yeah, it was fun. It was different. I liked it. It's a nice format. You get to play a lot of different people. So we could we were 11 people, so we could do 4 rounds, and you got to play quick games, only 25 minutes plus 5 minutes of boarding. So it works like you sit down with your opponent, and then you flip your base and leader, and then you bring out your sideboard, and both of you get 5 minutes to do your sideboarding, and then you play one game in 25 minutes, and that's basically it. So that was fun. However, I had a really hard day at work, or actually a whole week of really hard, tiresome work. So I was absolutely knackered when I showed up, and I put together a streak of impossibly bad gaming for myself. I got a bye, and then eventually I won an actual game over a guy, and the play mistakes were falling like, I don't know, a hailstorm or something. I'm not particularly proud of my playing that Thursday.
Right. So that's why we're gonna go deep into this, right? No. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you play?
I played my Sabine deck that I've been tweaking for a bit. I'm not locked into what I'm going to play at the PQ in Copenhagen yet, but a lot of signs points to Sabine for me. There's a lot with Sabine that I like, and especially in set 2, I think she's incredibly strong.
Yes.
B, she's fairly fast, which is in of itself a really good quality in the deck, especially in this game. The way the tournament rules work, there's an advantage to having a deck that rarely goes to time, and also like a tournament, the longer the tournament is, the more important it is to actually get some bit of respite between games, and Sabine will allow that. So that's the deck I'm leaning on. So that's what I've been bringing to most things lately, because that's what I want to practice with.
Yeah, and get the games in is really important. And as you say, like, since at Malmö you did not play a fast deck.
No.
And I was on the Sabine, and I don't think I had any break shorter than 20 minutes. Like, between any of the rounds, and I managed to reach top 8. So
Yeah.
that is a huge advantage, like not having to like play your game and then just go to find your next opponent, just bring the stuff.
Right.
So
Which I
can
had
see,
to do a lot in Malmo. So yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah. So what did you face? Did you learn something about the deck? Did you change something after this, or was it just your mistakes that was like crowding the whole evening? So you you don't blame the deck.
Yeah, I don't think I learned much about the deck. I learned a little bit about my play style, I guess. Because again, like if you're doing a tournament like the PQ in Copenhagen, by the end of it, the level of tiredness I had at the store showdown this Thursday, that's probably what you can expect after 7 rounds of Swiss in such a fast pace, and then just moving straight into, if God willing I get to do a cut, then yeah, that you have those 7 games in the day, and in the evening you're gonna have to do the cut then.
Yeah.
So being really tired and hammered is the prerequisite of playing the cut in such a tournament.
It's actually good practice to have played during those conditions.
Right. Now, obviously, I was at a disadvantage because my opponents didn't necessarily have to be as tired as I was this time. Whereas in such a tournament, probably they would be. Yeah. They should be. But you never know. Like stamina is a complicated thing. So I guess that's what I learned, and also I did to face a couple of decks that I haven't played and trained particularly much against, and I realized I really need to, because I didn't know the lines. I had very few games into Bosk Blue, and I faced a Bosk Blue player that actually knew what he was doing, which isn't, I've only played it on some online platforms, and you don't know what you're facing on such a platform, whereas at the tournament like this one, everyone had traveled there or was actually from Uppsala, so the level of opponents is at least decently good, which means you don't get away with any sloppiness, and I didn't know the lines. Being tired, I couldn't really figure them out, but I figured out that I don't know the lines. So that's something I need to do,
Yeah, because that is kind of a tricky matchup, like for both decks, like how Bosk needs to find out how to maximize his healing, and you have to like push the right amount of damage without like completely sell you out to some blowout cards, right? It is a solid matchup, I think, for Sabine, but like if you play it brain dead, you're gonna get punished. For
sure. And that's definitely what happened. I did not, I didn't even get close. I spent most of the game hovering around 10 damage on base, and he was just removing it. I'd push maybe 3 or 5 more damage, and it would disappear in the same instance. So it's really a lackluster performance from me, and then eventually he got the big guns out and he finished me. So that's the story of that game. But I realized that I need to practice this game, and that this is a deck that is around in a huge tournament. You can expect to face something like that.
Yeah, and if you expect to or aim at least to go for like a finals at a PQ or a top cut, like chances are that you are facing a Bosk Blue either like high up in the late Swiss rounds or in the top cut, because we have seen multiple times that is the winning deck of big tournaments.
For sure.
So maybe they are not the most representative all the time, but like
you're
gonna run into it at some points if you do well yourself. So that's definitely good to have practiced. What deck ended up winning?
In the Uppsala Store Showdown, Tim took it down with Ray Blue, and like I told you, we've been practicing Sabine and Ray Blue. Those are the 2 decks we've been testing the most, and Tim has been leaning towards Ray Blue for a bit now, and he brought it because he kind of expected a lot of Sabine. Because he knew I was going to bring it, and he knew that he expected some of the other Uppsala fellows like Johan to bring it, and indeed we did. So there were, I think we were 3 or 4 Sabines.
Out of 11 players.
Out of 11 players, yeah.
So that's almost 50% of the field. Yeah,
yeah, which is kind of normal for a tournament in the world, but unexpected in Sweden.
Yeah.
So he did a good meta call.
Yeah, and usually in these small metas, there is usually like some diversity because people don't like to play mirrors all the time. But yeah, that's interesting and a really good meta call because like most people think it is a pretty favored Ray matchup, right?
Yeah, for sure, and especially the way we've been practicing, I'd say. The Sabine matchup for his Ray Blues playstyle, that's what he wants. He wants to have only Sabines all night long, and he's happy because it won't go to time and he'll win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Ray Blue can go to time in other matchups for sure, but versus Sabine, nobody should go to time. That is like, someone is doing something wrong. If Sabine goes to time,
for sure.
All right, so.
So yeah, he went out and defeated. The final was between Jakob Wolleman, the guy that was King of Swiss in Malmö, and Tim. Both of them are locals here in Uppsala. So it was an Uppsala final, which was nice.
Is Jakob still on the boba train, or has he switched?
He has. He's been meaning to switch ever since Malmö, but he hasn't been. He hasn't been getting anything that he can feel as comfortable with.
It's very hard to go back from boba. Yeah,
isn't it? Though. So he's still on it reluctantly.
Yeah.
But I know for sure he's looking into a lot of different things, and I think he's probably the one of us in our little group here that is looking forward to the new set the most because he really wants to get on something new.
Yeah. And I'm just enjoying boba life all day long right now. I don't want a new set at all right now.
You're so happy with your boba now.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much it for the Uppsala Store Showdown. Fairly small, but reasonable size, and it was a quick affair in a Thursday evening. Everyone got home in pretty decent time.
Yeah, if you do it on a weekday, you have limited time. You have to do stuff. I'm just going to have one more question around this because just like me, you were up playing in Stockholm, Uppsala last Store Showdown season, and there was a lot of best of ones, but without pre-boarding, right?
Yeah.
So you just had no side deck.
Right.
How was it better with pre-boarding or was it worse, in your opinion? For me, it sounds better.
It's a flavor taste, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I do think it's fun, a fun aspect of Star Wars Unlimited. The boarding is actually a part of the game, and I do enjoy that flavor. But doing best of one without boarding has it makes you have to anticipate things, and you have to it brings out other things of the deck. So I can see a case for both of it.
Yeah,
but I do not regret doing it. I would definitely do it again, and I would recommend people trying it. I don't think it should be every time because I think there's a space for both of these formats, and I understand why pre-boarding isn't part of the official structure for Best of One, because it does favor some kinds of play styles. And not having the board there in the best of one, it can be a little bit random to some extent.
Yeah, and it's like it's an extra skill with the 10 sideboard, and like as you say, some decks becomes a lot better with a sideboard that you can pre-board in, and it is supposed to be casual sometimes, so it's easier to make an upset on a good player if they can't pre-board against you.
Yeah.
So I see that. Just as like someone that's very competitive, I can also see for me it sounds like it's closer to the best of three like the big event, real event stuff, to have the pre-board, to have it integrated, to have the whole deck integrated. But yeah, cool that you guys tried it out.
Yeah, and I think we're going to do it again at some point, but it might not be every time.
Yeah, that's fine. Like as long, I think that should be like since it's store level, it should be discussed among the weekly players there, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And then you went to the Card Expo tournament on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a box tournament and some prizes around grading, right? Some gift cards and stuff. I couldn't figure out the value of it, but it sounded like decent, right?
PCG, professional card gaming, grading. Sorry, professional card grading. It's basically an online kind of store, I think. But you can send your cards there and get them graded, and you get them back in slabs. So you got they sponsored the whole tournament, and I think they were probably sponsoring the whole Card Expo thing. So they had what do you call it? You got store credit basically with PCG for pricing. So there were 1,500 crowns for first prize, I think 1,000 maybe for second, and 500 for third.
Like that's actually, if you considering the box as well, that's like prices for like 5,000-6,000 Swedish crowns.
Yeah.
Sure, you cannot spend it wherever you want, but like it's still like for a Swedish events pretty good total prize pool, and since it was like a 32 player event maximum as well, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty generous, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I'd say it's probably the second best prize pool we've seen in Sweden at this point. Probably just the Malmö event had a stronger prize pool.
Yeah, I would say so. And I know there is some box tournament coming up in Eskilstuna next week, and we'll see what that one will bring. There is like Växjö has something that's going to be a smaller event, so it's not going to be the same. But like, that's cool. So you brought Sabine again, right?
Right, yeah, same deck, but this time I tried sleeping before.
Oh,
and
interesting.
It turned out to be a really good idea to spend a full night. Yeah, no, who would have thought? So this was a full day tournament on the Sunday. We started playing at 11, no lunch break, which is I'd rather play a little bit earlier and get a lunch break. But
get like the 2 games first, eating, and then have 3. That is like kind of the sweet spot. Or if you're making a top cut, maybe eat after 3 games or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I definitely would have preferred that, but it was in Nacka, Stockholm, so it was easy to get to some store around the corner and get some sandwiches or whatever.
Okay, especially if you play Sabine, right?
Yeah, especially if you play Sabine. So I didn't want for anything really. I was fine, and there was a sponsorship from some energy drink company, so we had free drinks throughout the day.
Nice.
They just kept bringing in these I don't know, like vitamin lemonade things, and like cans of energy drinks. So
nice.
yeah, it was really nice. The whole thing was really well run. Nicola and Philip was arranging, like they are basically the go-to guys for getting Star Wars arranged in Stockholm. So they put it together. Philip was playing and Nicola was just running, TOing it. Yeah. And both of them always do a tremendous job at these things. They're really good at it. And they're really good at getting like people to feel comfortable and getting a welcoming and warm space. Just open and warm atmosphere all around.
Cool. So it was 5 rounds of Swiss ride, no top cut, if I remember that right.
Yeah.
So this one went better. So can you just, what did you do differently? Was it luckier opponents, or did you actually play better as well?
This time I think I was the one doing a really good meta call. I was After Thursday, I kind of had a feeling that, and I've been feeling for a while, that a lot of people in Stockholm were frustrated with their mainly control decks, and they were interested in trying something. And Boba is, I don't know, either they have played Boba or the Boba players were just still going to play Boba, you know? And they
as we said, hard to go back.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them. So I don't think people want to switch into Boba. So what is there then for them to try out, especially if they've been frustrated with things? You know, obviously in a meta that has been lacking a lot of Sabines, a lot of people were interested in trying it out. And that's exactly what happened. We had more Sabines in this tournament than we're used to. I think we were 5 or 6 Sabines in the tournament. Yeah. And my call, and what Tim and I have been, why we've been trying it out the way we have and talking about it, has been all around that if a lot of people bring Sabine, we will do well because we are really good at the mirror, both of us. I feel very comfortable into the mirror. I feel fairly comfortable into both Bobas. For me, the hard matchup, the really hard matchup, obviously Ray Blue. That's impossible, especially if Tim plays it. And then I do not like running into some Kira players, especially 30 HP. That's a tough matchup. It's probably 50-50 really, but if it's a good player and they know what they're doing, it's a tough matchup and it's a coin toss. And I don't like to have a coin toss. I'd rather be in control, you know?
Yeah. Some decks are very player dependent, right? They can push like a lot of percentage from matchup. So I get that.
Yeah, and like when I've been training against Sabine, I feel that I expect myself to be better than most of the people that have only been playing it for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, you know?
Yeah.
I expect to be able to beat them and to be favored into the matchup. Whereas if someone, especially in the Stockholm meta, have been playing Kira or even for a lot of those players like Yuan, they've been on blue-green forever. You know, they've been playing Krennic and then switched to Kira. They're really good at that. So that's, I don't have an edge there. It's going to be a coin toss, and that's not what I want. But for this tournament, I pretty much saw a lot of them switching to Sabine, which is exactly what happened. So I had mostly Boba and Sabines, and then I had a really weird. I did not practice Pulp Green because, you know,
you don't have to. It's so easy.
And Tobias made a run for it because he had practiced Sabine. I think he didn't say he had, but I'm pretty sure he must have. And he gave me such a run for my money. It was the roughest matchup. I lost first game, and it wasn't even close. He just beat me down.
Yeah,
I had terrible draws though, but you know.
Yeah, like when you're such an underdog in a matchup, you need to have something, right? At least to smash the other side.
Yeah. But even the 2 other games, I did draw all right at least, and I had to fight for every inch in that game. I was just, wow, I need to practice Pulp Green. Never thought I would, but you know, I have to.
Yeah, like if someone is more knowledgeable, like they can see when you might use the same lines as you say, like you do in other matchups, but those are not optimal, right? In this one. But if you just know the right line, you become unstoppable instead, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll need to get some Pulp Green under my belt again, I think. Yeah. But I did eke it out in the end. It was close, but I got the 2 second after board. I got the 2 other games, and then I had a mirror in the. Oh, actually, yeah. Alexander, obviously, in like 3rd round.
Yeah.
And he's one of those
the blue green player.
Yeah, blue green players. He's been on Krennic forever. He did a little bit of Kira for a short while, but he moved back to Krennic, and he's much more comfortable there, I think. He's such a great guy, and you know,
indeed.
It it was a tough matchup, but I got it. And I think it's down to, like he said, he's mainly been practicing on Carbars, the online platform.
Yep.
And me having played a lot in real life with my friends here, and having played like actual good people training against it, preparing. So I had an edge there because I was more prepared than he was, I think. And like we talked about last week, having people to prepare yourself with, to deck test and trim your decks and all that, it makes a difference. It really does.
When you can at least know the quality. Sometimes it doesn't have to be the best one.
No.
Player, but you know where you have it, right? If you play someone random, you don't actually know where he's standing compared to others. You can guess, but and you can talk.
Yeah, you can talk through the play mistakes and even if you're winning, like why was I winning? What kind of choices did I put him through? Why was it good? Why was the thing I did something I want to repeat? Or was it just pure luck that it worked, you know?
It was a top deck and then it just snowballed, or is this a line you can actually aim for every time?
Yeah, exactly. So having a living person that you know, and you're actually trying, this is what you're doing now, you're preparing yourself. That makes a world of a difference, I think. I got that game as well, and then I ended up with a Sabine mirror in the final, and again, this guy Frederick has been around for a long time. He and his young son is attending a lot of tournaments in Stockholm. Frederick and Vincent, I think his son
I think
is.
so. Frederick is. I went to Germany with him and Christopher for Star Wars Destiny. Nationals. He's great.
I don't know him personally, but I've met him a couple of times, and he's always been a great guy. But again, he's not a Sabine player per se, and again, I had an edge just knowing the mirror much more intimately, and having played Sabine all the while back since set 1, I just had a bit of an edge, and that's all it takes, so I got it down eventually.
So congratulations to the victory. On maybe like price-wise, like Sweden's next biggest tournament.
Price-wise. Only 28 players in the end, so not play-wise. Play count.
No, there is a few 32 players. It has been
even up to 40-something in some of the Alpha Spel tournaments have been
really?
Around 30.
Okay.
Almost 40 at least.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, but price-wise at least, and that's when people try the hardest anyway. Like the harder the price, the hotter the price.
Right.
Not the harder, the hotter.
Yeah.
So
sure. But you had a tournament as well, right?
Yes. At the Nordic Takedown podcast, home arena Manatorsk, that is moving soon. I went up there with a friend, Johan from Värnamo, who we went up. My brother came down from Örebro, and then Matthias and Jason obviously live there, so they were playing it. So it was a 22-player event store showdown.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, one of the bigger ones in Sweden, and like it's in the like kind of central of Sweden. So since I've been in Göteborg and Lund around, there was a lot of familiar faces here. People have been, some Göteborg people went over there, and like it's cool when close by cities have some store showdowns, because you get to see the same people, almost get some rivalries, right? So I brought Boba Green for the third time. I have fine-tuned it even more. I did a meta call thinking that it was not going to be a lot of aggro. I did not think it was going to be that much of Sabine, and rumors were telling me that there was not a lot of Boba players either around, just playing around in Skövde in general, which was right. We were 3 Bobas total, 1 red, 1 yellow, and me 30 HP. So it was like kind of diverse. It was 1 Sabine. That guy also forgot his ECL, so he played with 30 HP base. Managed to go 3-2 anyway, so still a solid result. But yeah, the meta read was pretty accurate. There was 2 Bosk blues, 2 Cad Bane blues. I think it was 2 Palp greens. So there was a lot of like control and mid range. So I started against Gar Saxon Yellow, same guy I played a final in Göteborg with, knowingly it was like an aggro deck, and I just have to play it out. Actually got to play for 12 resources in round 4 or 5. Yeah, round 4.
So you took him to the distance.
Yeah, I overwhelming barraged and killed his Everson, Dr. Everson, got all the money back, managed to flip out Boba, make another barrage, and then attack and play a Boba's armor as the last 2 resources on the Boba in one of the games. That is one of the sickest round I've done.
That will hurt your feelings.
Yeah. So that was the 2-0. Then I went up against the Bosk Blue, which is quite interesting, but kind of I changed my deck to actually have a better chance in these control waves. So I main deck 2 Relentless.
Oh yeah, because that's key, I guess. I think the Bosk Blue is kind of made to deal with Boba, right?
Yeah, it's made to deal with maybe Bobas in general, right? They but they are focused a lot around events, and Relentless really shuts that down. My theory was like, in set 1, I played a lot of, when I didn't play Han Green, I played a lot of Boba Green with ECL and Krennic Green ECL, right? And I had a sideboard that was pretty much against these heavy control decks. There was full with Relentless and in that set Emperor's Legion.
Yeah.
And my theory was like in set 1, those decks actually started winning against the control decks when you sided in those stuff. So my theory was like, now with Palpatine's Return and Relentless, I can switch this matchup and actually just beat the heavy control, because if they have to deal with a Relentless, I can just end the game. Basically, they cannot play the Super Laser Blast anymore. They cannot fell the dragon. They have to do 2 fell the dragons and then actually start running out of the good removal.
While you can still bring your Relentless back with Palpatine's Return.
So effectively, after sideboard, since I have 2 Palpatine's Return and another Relentless, I could play Relentless 5 times.
Yeah.
I lost game 1. I got him to 29 HP. Didn't find a single Relentless in that game. So we had to play game 2 and 3 pretty fast. He was very nice. He played faster. Like a douche would have like slow played it, and we would ended up 1-1 and draw, which is bad for both anyway. So glad that didn't happen. But like it was kind of impossible for him to deal with Emperor's Palpatine's Return and the multiple Relentless, and the ramp is so key. Like, I just don't play anything unless I ramp in the beginning. Then I put down a shitty card so I can flip Boba. So I'm protected for like Power of the Dark Side. Right. Then I also have Basine.
To pick things from his hand,
the hardest card in the matchup I felt was Snoke. Because he's quite hard to kill for Boba. Unless you have like a decent unit out plus a barrage.
The Jacobs, they basically, their main answer to Snoke has been Basine. Just discard it from their hand. Discard it from their hand.
Like, and he made in game 1, his counterplay was pretty nasty. It was like, first he landed a Snoke, and then round after he played a Palpatine, the red one. And when everything is already -2/-2, you wipe the board with that guy. So I learned the hard way that Snoke is nasty. He is. But I made it 2-1, so I went through. Then went into Han Yellow, which I'm pretty comfortable with. It's one of the matchups I played the most. Well, one of the decks I played the most with different decks. So I know what that deck is really trying to do, and it became pretty easy. Even though I had no turn 1-drop either of the games, I had ramp plus Boba flip barrage into a Boba's armor. That was like my starting hand both
yeah,
games.
those things will just make you settle
Yeah.
anyway.
The 30 HP base boba doesn't really care that much about the turn one play.
No.
Really only against maybe Sabine, like where you want to keep up, because that is actually a quite difficult matchup.
I guess maybe some of the faster, like hand to green or Kylo yellow, something that's really fast, and when you need something to trade with already from the beginning.
Kylo, Lando,
Yeah.
and as you said, Han 1 green, Han 2 green, I mean. Those decks you kind of want something out for sure.
Right.
But as soon as it comes to like not that fast deck, you really don't care that much.
No, right.
You just want the ramp.
Even something like the guard yellow you talked about, it's fast, but it's not that fast.
No, exactly, because his leader doesn't flip as early as the others. So at least I have that one for free. So in this case, it was a pretty easy 2-0. Then, because there was so many draws in this tournament, after I was 3-0, me and the guy I faced at 3-0, even though it was a 5-round Swiss, we were the only two that was undefeated.
But this is what happens when no one plays Sabine.
Yes, and when people refuse to surrender, like or give wins, like because you can actually it's actually better for you to lose than win. So if you actually can, like most of the times you can see that, hey, I was probably gonna lose this. Here, take the win because it's gonna benefit our both.
And even if you can't, if you end up with someone where you can't agree with who was winning, and I've been there a couple of times, I'll just concede then.
Yeah.
It's just strictly better for me.
Yeah, and I think
I have nothing to lose in that. In that situation, you don't actually have anything to lose.
No. I think that maybe because we only played the Swiss rounds, that impacts us a bit, because when you lose, you usually can't win. But in this case, you actually could win, because like I could have lost the last round and there was multiple 4-1s instead. But like if there was a top cut, then for sure you just surrender, because one loss with a better strength of schedule, of course I'll take that over a double loss.
But the thing is, if the other guy isn't going to concede, me winning isn't on the table. As soon as you figure out that your winning is not an option, then you only have two options. Either you get a double loss with shitty strengths of schedule, or you get an actual loss and the other guy get a win, but then your strengths of schedule gets better. So what you going to do? Be an asshole, or are you going to get both of you a little bit of a buns?
You want to be the nice guy or the not so nice guy?
No. And I understand that a lot of people don't feel this way, but for me it's easy.
Yeah, for me too. Like, and I do if you have the standpoint that you count for yourself, like a mental thing that you drew instead of lost, and you don't really care about the standings, but you want to say that, hey, I took a win, 2 wins and a draw and a loss, and you find like that's a positive record. Fine, that's like I'm not here to. You do. I don't think you're an asshole for that.
No,
it's like
no.
we just have different opinions. And like that's fair enough. But so we were only 2 there, and it was Boss Green. Also played him in Göteborg. Same matchup actually, and like it was a 2-0. We pass a lot when we play versus each other. Me and Jonathan is his name. He knocked me out last Showdown in Skövde. He was the last winner actually. But we just passed many of the first rounds because he wants to put bounties, and I'm like, I'm not playing anything unless it's a ramp or maybe a phantom lurker. So it was like a little bit of a ramp war. In game 2, I did that repeat move when I play Vader, find a Basine, look at his hand, find his Vader, throw it away, and he ends up having to play a Punisher and loses the game. So that was fun for me. So then I was the only 4-0 and was forced to play like a 3-1.
Right.
I had to play against Ray Blue. There was actually Johan, my friend here from Värnamo. So we kind of got the finals table. basically. And that is when we practiced. Was it quite favorable for Boba Green in that matchup? But playing it out was not that favorable. It was like 50-50, I would say. Like that deck grinds back, man.
It does. It does.
And it has such a card advantage when you come to the late game. And like I lost game 1. I had him to 28 or 29 when he started grinding me back, and then we had 20 minutes to play our last 2 games.
Yeah.
And we actually managed to play them 10 each. If you watch that stream, you're gonna see it's played in hyperspeed, because they
no thinking, just playing.
Yeah, just playing and like instinct basically.
Yeah.
Barrage when you can. I hope that it works. And like that's an actually very fun matchup to play. It's grindy, and like if you see that matchup in a tournament, if you play either side, you better play fast. Like because
from the get-go.
Yeah, because if you don't know your opponent, like I had 2 grindy series here with opponents I know, so like we have like some kind of rapport. We don't want to be assholes against each other's. So we played fast. They played fast for my sake because I lost like game 1 in both those. But like if you play someone that you don't know and they get the 1-0 lead with a 30-minute win,
don't expect them to be doing you any favors.
No, like they're gonna take the 1-0 if they can.
Probably
they're probably not gonna tank you like crazy, but like they don't have to do much to make that go to time. Like maybe 2 seconds extra thinking here and there, like will get them through there. So that is that's just my like take from that. I need to start playing my deck a little bit faster, even though I've actually found out that this one is quite competitive even against a hard control. But I need to have the speed, basically.
And you need to have your lines down.
Yeah.
Like in these kind of matchups, these kind of grindy things, they're not that many. You're not going to end up in these all the time. But for the ones that you think you might end up in, you better know your lines.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, of course, if I win the game 1, I am in a better state. But it's not guaranteed in these grindy matchups because it can just flip on his head. Like, if he has all the Lukes and Felder Dragons on hand, like, I actually got sniped with the Rivals Fall all 3 games. Like, not instantly, but like with Boba. So it was like the round after. So I knew if he had Rivals, he would have played it. So then I start committing to Boba, and then next round he tops it and plays it. Like it's like, come on. And then it's a completely different game, which is fun but frustrating.
So all of these games, they're on the stream, right? So you can find them on this very YouTube channel.
Well, two of the games I was on the stream because they streamed the top table, I guess, and I even though I went 5-0, I wasn't on the top until the last 2 games. So me against Boss Green and against the Ray Blue is on there. It's muted, so pop some chill music in the background and just watch the gameplay. It's fun.
We might actually add commentary to it eventually. Like we're going down the line with the store showdowns that we do have on video, and we'll get to the Skövde one eventually.
We'll see 2026. No.
For sure.
No, hopefully, it's fun. When you play these tournaments, you don't get to watch anything. So I haven't seen the first 3, right? Yet. So it's it was fun, well organized as per usual. The store owner said that if we were uneven, he would jump in, which we were 21. So we got to 22, got to the whole buy system, got past that, which was nice.
Nice.
And that's kind of it's like for the store showdown season here in Sweden. I don't think there is any more. I know.
No, that would be the last one I'm aware of. Maybe there's one in Norrköping.
Maybe.
Because I haven't heard anything, and I know they do have a store. And Linköping, Norrköping, and there could possibly be something in Luleå as well.
True, Luleå could have, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just so, now when I don't live in Östersund anymore, it's just so off for me. But I know that Västerås and Malmö also had theirs same
They
day.
were this weekend.
All 3 events on Saturday. All stores was one with Boba Green, I think 30 HP. It could have been ECL as well in Västerås, but Boba Green was really having it that Saturday in Sweden.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mhm.
Let's
Nice.
move on here before we have to end the pod.
Yeah.
Because I really want to talk a little bit about the card price thing. It was a long time ago we did that. Me and Jason touched it like early in set 1 before the cards ran out. So that became pretty obsolete quite quick.
So if you look at, like, let's start with the main idea here is that with a game like this, it is generally speaking better to buy singles for your wallet than to buy boxes
in any CCGs.
Yeah, like that's the rule of thumb. There are obviously like the possibility of drawing a showcase or something, and you know, but don't expect to do that. If you want to get through, like, if you want to get a cheap way to do this, buy singles. Like, find the deck you want to play and look to what you need and buy the singles, because that's going to be the cheapest way to get them.
Yeah, buy a
It's
bulk.
not as fun. It's not as fun.
That's true. That's true.
Most of us do a mix. Like, we do buy a couple of
boxes,
displays or something like that, 2 boxes maybe, and then you get most of the commons and all that, and then you buy the stuff you need for your deck afterwards.
You don't spend too much money, but you get the kind of thing that you could win the lottery.
Exactly.
You're still playing it, but you're not addicted, right?
Right. No, for sure not. But if you look at the pricing, there is a there is a pattern to what happens with cards, and it repeats. So knowing how the cards move through their life cycle, we do not have any whatsoever knowledge of what's going to happen with the rotation or anything of that sort.
They haven't said anything, I think.
No, they've talked about it, and they've hinted to the fact that there might be rotation. It seems from the way they've been talking about it, it seems that there's going to be something, but my guess would be that they haven't really worked it out for themselves.
It's impossible. Yet. It's not impossible that's the case.
I don't think they've made up their mind of what they're going to do with it, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be playing set 1 forever, at least not intact the way it is now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be most likely they do a little bit of Destiny way, that they are going to make a legacy format or something.
That seems like that's the most common. That's what you get if you look to Magic the Gathering and the ones that've been around for a long time. They do have different formats with different restrictions and legality of sets. Now there is other ways to do it. Flesh and Blood famously do no rotation, and they keep all their sets in print as much as they can, and instead they have they restrict the leaders. Like if a leader does too well for a long time, they fall off grace in a different way.
They have to win like bigger tournaments, right? A couple of bigger ones.
So they collect points from different tournaments, and the biggest ones gives the most points. And when a leader reaches enough points, it's illegal in some formats and it's legal in other formats. And it's just a different spin on the rotation idea, but the gist of it is that you're going to limit the lifespan of a card. Now the lifespan then starts with release and ends when you can no longer play the card, and over the life cycle you could see maybe the prices fluctuate, but for most cards they're going to be pretty stable. But the legendaries, that's where you have the big movements. So that's really where you're interested. That's also where it's getting expensive. Like common and uncommon and even most rares cost only a couple of crowns. It's not very expensive. So the legendaries, that's what's going to be expensive, and that's also where you will get fluctuations in the pricing.
prices,
Yeah. So, can you predict them? Can you know when to buy? And is there a way to be smart about this? What do you think? How do you think about this?
I think right now there is like a way to be quite smart about it. It's a boring way, but like if you care about money and but you still want to have the card pre-tournament. Right now there are not that many tournaments in the beginning of the set, right?
No, right.
There is usually takes 1 month before store showdown starts.
Right.
So you don't actually have to buy any cards until after 3 weeks. And then usually things have dropped. Like it's most expensive in the beginning. Not actually in the beginning.
No.
Because that's when everyone opens things. And then like just prices tank. I think Shadows of the Galaxy had a little bit reverse because they were so cheap on set 1. And then the prices just increased like crazy because supply ran out. So people were trying to set the Shadows of the Galaxy a little bit higher, so they didn't miss out on the money. But then, spoiler alert, Shadows of the Galaxy as a set actually ended up being pretty shitty of a set. It's not that good. So the legendaries are kind of crap. It's like few that are really good, which means, and there was no supply issue, so people actually got to buy the boxes. So it never really became that expensive. So it's just been steadily declining afterwards, I feel like. And
so I don't agree that because I don't think the price of a card is as tied to how good it is in a vacuum.
not always,
No, I think we can see that because in a vacuum, both like the way we've been talking about it now, both Snook and Poe are probably the strongest cards, the strongest legendaries around right now. Possibly with the exception of maybe the Vigilance Cunning,
I'd say Luke and Darth Vader is pretty good still.
Yeah, that they're really good actually. They're really, really good. But there's a thing there.
Yeah.
Luke and Darth Vader, unlike Cunning, Vigilance, have a very famous character on them.
Yes, that actually adds as well. Yeah,
that's really important. Like people want to play Luke. They want to play Vader.
Yeah.
These are cards you want to play. You're looking for a way to have them in your deck, and it feels great playing them. And playing Vigilance, I don't know. It's
it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. It doesn't even stay in play. Like there's a reason.
Yeah, characters are funnier.
Yeah. Events are always cheaper than characters.
Yes,
almost always.
Almost always, yeah. Unless it's a crap like
character.
You see like. But that's true. They also try to tend to make the characters like good in certain areas at least. Meanwhile, the events can be like kind of niche, and if it's a niche event, not everyone wants it, and then they like go crazy low in pricing. I would say for like if you take Shadows of the Galaxy in the States as it is right now, I think that if that is like it's super cheap, buying singles is awesome. Like. If I knew that was the price before, and I am not that, I'm mostly interested in casual play, right? I wouldn't buy a box. It's completely useless because it's like compared to like Magic the Gathering or Flesh and Blood, this game is actually a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
For being a CCG, it's very cheap,
and
it's very unrewarding to open a box unless you find a showcase,
right?
Or the top legendary.
Now, even the top legendaries like a Crate or a Poe, because the way also with sequencing in this set, it's been terrible.
Yes, yeah.
You're extremely unlikely to find those two. Like the three most expensive legendaries in set 2 has been Poe, Great Dragon, and then
Snoke. Right? Yeah.
Snook, or no, possibly Darksaber.
Darksaber as well.
I'm
but
not
it's
sure
only really in one deck. Snoke is a little bit more, so yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the prices, they've been pretty even. They've been up and down.
In the beginning, like it was Poe and Crate, like when people started opening the boxes, then Snoke and Darksaber rised a little bit after.
Yeah.
But like, since people actually knew that you could get Poe and Crate in the same box,
Yeah.
the rest of the boxes became so much worse. But yeah, like, I don't expect every set to be as cheap as this one.
No, I don't.
And I hope it doesn't, because I think it needs to. You need to have possibility to actually get your monies back on a box. You should, on average, not get that. Like,
Yeah, no. But it should be possible.
Yeah, and
without
you don't
finding a showcase.
Yeah, and you also don't want a box value to be like 200 crowns.
No.
Because you have in Shadows of the Galaxy, you have some boxes that are really, really like a bad affair. Like,
right.
Meanwhile, yeah, you can continue.
For sure. No, but if you look at the set one,
Yeah.
I think you cannot really look at what the price structure has been for those
No.
cards. If, like, it seems like the idea is to keep sets in print at least for a while. So they're doing the reprint for set one.
Because there was too few from start.
Yeah. That suggests to me that they are actually going to try to keep it in stock, at least for a while. So I don't think, like, the way the prices looked and fluctuated for set one, I don't think that's reflective of what we can expect to see. And I think the way that happened has had a tremendous impact on what's happened with set two, which means that we can't really look to set two to say that this is the norm either.
No.
Like, if you look at set one, prices start kind of where you would expect them for the most expensive cards. Like, Vader started out, I'm looking at TCG Play, the American site, because they have longer history for their prices. So you can look all the way from the start of the set. And they started out on average with just over $60 for a Vader. And it did increase every week until we had the peak in April, when, like, the demand, there were just no boxes. There was just completely, shelves were empty everywhere, and people had finally understood that this was a great game, and people wanted to start buying it. And so this is where, like, peak demand and availability, demand and
accessibility, maybe.
I don't know. So tillgång, efterfrågan. I'm not sure what that is in English.
Supply and demand, right?
Supply and demand. Supply and demand. So supply and demand, they kind of had that intersection where there was as little supply as you could have and as much demand as you could have. So you have Vader peaks at over $100 for the regular Vader in average for a couple of weeks in April. And then it slowly starts to go down again during the summer or the late spring. And not because there's more availability. Well, slightly more availability. There was a trickle of boxes. It was a trickle of boxes. And also, like, the demand must have faded a little bit because people just couldn't get it. So, you know, people waited for next set or they just didn't want it anymore. So demand slowly decreased back to about $60 during the summer. And this is where it's been, but it has slowly declined. Yeah. And this is repeated for most of these really expensive. You can see it in Boba, which was also really expensive, even though Boba has declined more.
Because of a rule change, actually?
And also because a lot of more units can compete with it. There are more overstated units in this set. So he wasn't as exceptional anymore.
And if we keep Vader as an example, like he did in the European market, at least when I checked, he tanked for a while quite heavy 2 weeks before set 2.
Yeah, because everyone expected more.
Yeah, like everyone knew what Maul was doing, so I don't want to have many people like I don't want to have a €70 Vader when I can have a €5 Maul.
Yeah,
exactly. Like he's a very good supplement if you don't have if you don't want to spend €210 on 3 cards.
Right. Now,
€210.
Something like that. So if you look at some of the other legendaries for this set, the price curves and fluctuations have been quite different, though. So if you look at all of them spike in April. Like they do have a spike in April. But if you look at something like maybe Home One, it actually tanks from the beginning. It starts out at $13, but then a couple of weeks later, it's down to $7 or even
it was
less.
so cheap in the beginning.
Yeah. Because it didn't find a home. Like, so in the beginning, demand seems to be driven by what people expect to be playing. Even though there are no tournaments, people have been doing the pre-releases and
people have played online for so long.
But then it slowly rises till April, but it stays almost intact. It does decrease a little bit, but it's almost at that level. In April it's 18, and then in August it's 17. And now it's 13. So yes, it has decreased. But it's keeping kind of at level, And if you look at something really weird, you have Vigilance, which seemed to be unplayable to people. So it tanked for a long while. It was really cheap up until April, and then it's been pretty steady since April. It's almost still on that peak level.
Wasn't it up at almost €40?
$42 in 16th of April. And then it's still around there, around 40. It's 38
It's just
now.
an amazing card,
But this is what happens, I think, when people figure out that something is good that they didn't think was good. And it just keeps being playable in so many decks that demand for it it's just more and more decks wants to play it. So it's still really high. It's retained that price.
The Shadows of the Galaxy card that could be that card that just spikes at some point is Kylo Ren's TIE Silencer.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. That's one of the ones that could really be ending up in basically every. But it depends on whether or not, because that card could also go the route of Boba Fett. If we get more, because the only thing about the card is really the stats. It has some great stats, and if we get a lot of cards with that stat line,
then
obviously it's not going to be retaining that price.
Not at all. It's just going to be drifting off. Like if for a card to be expensive, it has to be really good. And then if it's going to be super expensive, it has to also be a little bit famous, right?
Right. It has to be something to do with
something more.
So I'd say the Silencer has a good shot, being Kylo Ren's Silencer, but I'd say Kylo Ren himself. Like, he's pretty cheap right now. But he's the kind of unit that could just start finding a home. There's no deck that
uses him at all. No.
He shows up a 1-off or 2-off in some decks, but he's not important.
He's not a staple, right?
No.
You don't start building your deck around Kylo Ren unit.
No. And if there's a deck where he is like one of the focus cards, things will happen. And that is a card, the stat line of the card is good. The ability is decent. It's playable in a lot of decks because of the ability.
It is.
So this is the kind of card that could actually go up in price, kind of like Vigilance did.
If you have there are issues with the card, but like if something changes that fixes the issues, it can.
It could definitely be very playable in a couple of sets. It's really hard to say because all of the cards from this set, you have a really straight kind of life cycle. They've been releasing at a decent price. If you look at Crate Dragon, it releases at $35, $38 actually, and then it goes up for a couple of weeks, and in 9th of July, it peaks at $49, and then you have a slow, steady hill down till now, where it's kind of steadying out around $20, and it's been there for maybe a month almost now. And so you could expect it to stay at maybe $20 for a while. I don't think it's going to decrease or increase, but you don't know. Set 2 might change things a lot. You never know.
So that's interesting. Something else that maybe the last thing we touch on is the showcases. They have tanked a lot.
They have tanked.
And that is the biggest problem, I think, since those are the
main
winning the lottery thing. Like they are so rare to get, and few of them don't even make the box back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure
quite
if
a lot of them.
yeah, quite a lot. And like people who bought them at their highest will feel pretty bad, like when they are so. And like that is not anyone's fault. Like I guess my issue, my thought is that they are too many different, which makes it not that fun to collect. Right? It's too expensive to collect for an average person. Like the rich person can still do it, but like if not enough people can feel like it's affordable to gather them, they will just not buy any, like the gatherers, right? The collectors. I know a lot of people, like you see online, they collected the first set, but then they realized 18 more. That's
No.
I cannot do that 3 times a year. So they collect the first set and then they skip the second, right? Completely.
They either just do not collect set 2 at all because they didn't find it as there weren't as many iconic characters, maybe.
True. Yeah, that as well.
Or they skip the showcases.
Yeah,
because they're not affordable, and there's a problem here. What do you think is going to happen with these prices, though?
Like there is somewhere which is like the rock bottom, of course, but I think what's gonna happen is that the ones that are playable, right, the top meta showcases are the ones that actually going to have some amount of value. The other ones are going to be pretty low.
Yeah.
And then obviously if it looks really good, of course it's going to do more, like Boba Fett, because and of course we don't know. Set 1 did not have showcases for Luke and Vader. Those could have been like also high because of iconic character stuff. But Boba is the like prettiest looking from set 1 and the best or second best leader, right?
Right.
Depending on who you ask. Some people like myself might think Han 1, but like the Han 1 is not nearly as good looking, right?
No, it's not.
So that one, well, Pulp is really good looking and iconic as well, but
The
he's not on
Palpatine might actually be my favorite showcase. Yeah. But and he's playable, but he's not top.
No, and he's also like the control archetype, which like if you have a mid-range or like maybe mid-range is the one that most people play. Like they want to play some mid-range here. So the best mid-range ones might be the ones to go for. But it's going to be so hard. Maybe if they stop releasing 18 at a time, the showcases will be easier, and then people will see, oh, it's easier to gather them now. Let's gather the other ones, and the prices will rise. But
you never know, because
you never know. It's so hard. But
I'd say collectors markets for these kinds of cards. There's a thing for collecting the set now while it's available.
Yeah.
But there's a whole different thing to collect a set of these or any of these once they are out of print.
Yeah.
Like in 10 years' time, you are probably not going to be able to buy any of these boxes anymore.
No.
Star Wars is still going to be Star Wars. And Star Wars toys, Star Wars cards collect crazy amounts of money. Yeah. So
especially if this card game is alive in 10 years. If it is alive in 10 years.
If the card game is alive, then it's going to be insane. Like if you look at the most valuable Magic cards, those are the ones from the first 5 sets.
Yeah.
And the most broken cards from those sets. So if you look at something like Boba Fett Showcase, in 10 years' time, that could be worth something. And this will drive prices around the iconic characters, even if they're not actually playable.
Yeah.
If they are iconic and they are ingrained on people, like Leia. Leia might not be playable for much longer. Or her showcase might be fetching a lot of money on a pure collector's market.
Yeah, that one has a very high price for a long time.
Yeah.
Just for being insanely good looking. Actually,
Yeah,
that one is really nice.
It's
and
good
it's
looking.
Leia. Yeah,
And Chewbacca, obviously, all of these iconic characters, they might in the end up being quite valuable.
Yeah.
Because of who they are, and that the Star Wars IP has so many collectors that don't even play the game, you know? They're
Yeah.
just collecting Star Wars things. And if this card game stays around and becomes a thing, if you look at the Star Wars from Decipher, like the mid-90s game,
When I
brilliant
barely
game.
lived.
A really good game. But some of those cards are really expensive still, even though they haven't,
yeah.
you know, that there's hardly anyone playing in the game.
Yeah.
Well, there's a small scene, but, you know, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's going to be it for today. Otherwise, Jason is going to kill us with the editing of this
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
But really fun talk and interesting, like talking about these prices. If you guys actually liked us rambling about weird prices and like future possible happenings and sadness over the game being too cheap,
Yep, let us know.
let us know, and we'll see if we do it in a future episode again.
If this is something you're interested in, we'll actually research it and you know, give you something real about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me tonight, Victor.
Yeah. As always, it's great to be here.
Yeah. And thank everyone for listening, and may the force be with you all.
Yeah. See you around.
See ya.
Bye.